Hello, my friends. Today we'll start with Trump's statement that Ukraine wants to launch a counteroffensive.
No, we'll be talking about the war with him, and we'll be talking about. I mean, they want to go offensive. I'll make a determination on that, but they would like to go offensive. You know that, and we'll have to make a determination.
But most likely the main issue here is the discussion about Tomahawks. Whether there will actually be an offensive along the front line, that's still a big question. He also claimed that India supposedly won't be buying oil from Russia anymore.
It stopped, so I was not happy that India was buying oil, and he assured me today that they will not be buying oil from Russia. That's a big stop. Now I got to get China to do the same thing.
However, Putin also made such statements and promised Trump over the phone that he would end the war. So for now, we'll have to wait and see if India's actions match those words. Trump, once again, also called on Putin to stop this war.
And all we want from President Putin is stop this. Stop killing Ukrainians and stop killing Russians, because he's killing a lot of Russians.
Meanwhile, Budanov stated that if Russia weren't supported by its partners, it would have already lost this war.
With the help of our partners, Ukraine would have already regained all the occupied territories if not for the Kremlin's support from Moscow's allies, especially North Korea. And I want to draw attention to the fact that some countries are still acting dishonestly. These countries, despite international sanctions, allow Russia to receive weapons, ammunition, and critical components, including electronic parts. They also allow their citizens to join the ranks of the Russian armed forces.
But Russia's partners continue their support, so the situation along the front remains difficult. Let's move straight to the Dobropillia direction, where more and more problems are emerging. Yesterday, reports came in, later confirmed by Ukrainian soldiers, that the Russians had once again captured the village of Dorozhny, moving them even closer to the city of Bilitsk. In addition, they assaulted Nove Shachove, Nikanorivka, and Volodymyrivka, and it's reported that Russia has transferred additional reserves to this area. In the Pokrovsk direction, the front line is also gradually shifting, unfortunately not in Ukraine's favor. The Russians continue assaults near Rodinske, and fighting is ongoing for Krasny Lyman. And they are breaking through on the outskirts of Myrnograd, storming Novoekonomichne, Promень, the southern outskirts of Myrnograd, Lysivka, the outskirts of Pokrovsk, Molodetske, and pushing through the areas near Udachne and Zvirove. Yesterday, it was confirmed that two settlements, Chunishine and Moskovske, have been lost. Moreover, Russian sources claim they've also captured Novopavlivka and Balagan near Myrnograd. We're still waiting for confirmation of these losses from the Ukrainian side, but clearly the situation in this direction is worsening significantly. In the Novopavlivka direction, the Russians are actively trying to break through toward Novopavlivka, with several assault groups moving across the fields. They're also advancing toward Filia, storming Dachne, Ivanivka, Iskra, and Alexandrograd. There have been no new changes over the past day, but the situation here remains extremely difficult. In the Pokrovske direction, in the Dnipropetrovsk region, Russian forces have completely captured Novogrigorivka and made significant advances across the fields. They are now assaulting the village of Krasnohirske. Fighting is also ongoing for Verbove and Sosnivka. The Russians claim they have regained control of Oleksiivka, and Ukrainian soldiers have also confirmed this information, though there have been no official statements yet, so we'll wait for confirmation. But it's clear that even here the front is gradually shifting not in Ukraine's favor. In the Gulay-Pole direction, the Russians are assaulting Poltavka, but so far have had no success, and there have been no new changes along the front line over the past day. In the Zaporizhia direction, Russian forces continue advancing in the area of Stepove, assault Stepnohirsk, and are trying to break through beyond the village of Plavny. However, they've made no significant gains, and the front line here remains unchanged for now. In the Kherson direction, only shelling has been recorded. The Ukrainian side hasn't confirmed Russia's alleged capture of the island, and the Russians themselves haven't provided any video evidence either. So we are waiting to see how this situation develops. Now moving to the Kostantinivka direction, the Russians are pushing toward Kostantinivka from the east. Fighting is taking place near Stupochki and Plashivka. Russian forces have also launched assaults on the village of Bereztok and are trying to secure positions in the nearby fields. So the situation here is deteriorating, but the Ukrainian forces are successful repelling all attacks and not allowing the Russians to hold their ground. Additionally, the Russians are trying to advance across the fields from Rusin Yar and Poltavka. Their main goal in this area is to move toward Drushkivka, but so far there have been no changes along the front line. In the Kramatorsk direction, the Russians are attacking Orikhovo-Vasilivka, but without success, and the situation hasn't changed over the past day. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces are assaulting Yampil and trying to break through near Vyemka and Fedorivka. Activity in this area remains very high, but so far they haven't managed to advance any further. In the Lyman direction, the situation is catastrophic. So the Russians are trying to break through across the fields directly to the outskirts of Lyman and secure their positions there. Ukrainian forces are still repelling attacks, but the situation is worsening daily as the Russians are intensively shelling all positions, making defense extremely difficult. Battles also continue near the village of Kolodezi. Fighting is ongoing in Drobushevo, and the Russians are advancing near Shandrogolove and Serednya, which recently came under Russian control. So the struggle here continues. In the Borova direction, Russian forces are trying to advance toward Novoplatonivka, but without success, the front line hasn't changed for the past day. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian forces continue to advance closer to the southern part of the city, and the situation is rapidly deteriorating. So the Russians are assaulting Dobropillia and pushing toward the area of Pishane. The situation in Kupiansk itself is extremely difficult. Russians claim to have made progress and are advancing into the southern part of the city. according to confirmed reports, around 50% of Kupiansk is already under Russian control, and they managed to entrench their positions there. In the Dvorichna direction, the Russians are advancing toward Doroshivka and attacking Kutkivka. But the front line remains unchanged. For now, Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all assaults in this area. In the Veliki Burluk direction, Russian forces are pushing toward Kolodezny and assaulting Bolohivka. However, over the past day, the front line hasn't changed, and the Ukrainian forces are successfully repelling all attacks. In the Kharkiv direction, no new assaults have been recorded, only shelling. In Vovchansk, fighting continues, but the Russians have made no progress. In the Sumy direction, activity remains low. However, the Russians are still trying to advance near the villages of Kostiantynivka, Oleksiivka, and Yunakivka. So far, there have been no major changes along the front line here. Also, Budanov said today that the Russians still want a pause to rearm.
The truth is, Russia didn't plan for such a long conflict as this has become. They certainly didn't expect such strong international support for Ukraine. Russia needs a pause to restore its, primarily military, capabilities. Ukrainians, more than anyone, want peace and dream that this tragedy never happens again anywhere in the world.
Unfortunately, we don't see Russia agreeing to any pause. They refuse a halt in any format, whether for a month or even an year ceasefire. So, friends, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the Russians actually want any kind of pause? Meanwhile, the NATO Secretary General said that while we shouldn't take the Russians too seriously, we still need to prepare for war.
Because we know how to do this, and let's not take the Russians too seriously. Then your question could be, but then why do you need to spend more on defense? Because if you have a dictator willing to sacrifice 1 million people in the war in Ukraine, this year only gaining very incremental successes in the Donbass, I think below 1% or 0.5% of territory. If you're willing to do that, you have to be sure that you are well prepared for that guy if he moves against NATO, if he would do that. I don't know whether he will, but if he would, that we are prepared. That is why we are doing it. And he is spending 40% of a state budget on defense. So we take it seriously, but we are very well trained and prepared. And that is why I think we can afford to look at all of this with some calm and some determination.
It's also reported that Finland has built 100,000 luxury bunkers. These bunkers can accommodate almost all citizens and are equipped with hockey arenas, fitness centers, parking lots, and playgrounds. They're deep enough, 20 meters, to protect even against a nuclear strike. So, friends, tell me, could something like this be done in Ukraine? Or would officials embezzle all the money and leave the project unfinished? Share your thoughts in the comments. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.